Hello and welcome to 52 Weeks. This week we're going to be continuing through Chapter 4 in the Parks, Civic, and Open Spaces. And specifically we're going to be looking at the next 6 weeks on the types of parks and public space that are discussed in Chapter 4.
So we mentioned this last time in the discussion of the Capitol View Commerce Center at Cameron and Her. And we should be thinking about in 2001, the Paxton Creek Watershed and Education Association was established. This group is looking at maintaining the entire Paxton Creek. There's a lot of zones that are on here, the upstream zone to Wildwood Lake and the downstream zone of the concrete channel. And this is, again, further collaboration, planning and restoration efforts that involves, or that can involve Dauphin County, HAC, Department of Agriculture. There's a lot of educational and community-based involvement that we can have. Part of the reclaiming of the Paxton Creek riparian zone is that we want to protect the restoration and watershed investment that we put in here with the Paxton Creek floodgate. If we're putting any investment in here, maybe we think about a floodgate and how that actually mitigates the amount of flooding that happens. This can be coordinated now with the I-83 master plan. Again, if we have a city agency, someone administering large-scale comprehensive planning, this is why the comprehensive plan exists. This idea comes out here. This should be put into the planning for 83 as they're coming down from the areas of Union Deposit and approach 19th, 17th, 13th, and 3rd Street development. This should be all part of that. So the question is, what does this look like? End results. So there's an example in the comp plan from Liflet, Blue Way, which is down in New Orleans, and they're looking at how do they deal with canal and canal treatment within the city in close proximity to residents, and thinking about as an occupied park, or thinking of how does the green space actually mitigate any flooding. We can do this through restoring the creek and wetland ecology. Again, coordinating and collaborate with Dauphin County, HAC, the Department of Agriculture, local schools, businesses, agriculture to farm to table. This can address improvements to the creek bed and riparian buffers. There's also some thinking of the water quality and microclimates. This can also be connected to the Capital Region water as well. So one thing is to think about the integration of the Eastern Bluff. These are in the overlooks where the bluff is on the east side of the city as it rises up to the hill. And whenever possible, the city should acquire property along the Paxton Creek bluff to preserve the forest along the bluff and provide trail linking series of city overlook. So we can be thinking about this in another way of navigating and moving through the city. So when we connect the overlooks, the wooded bluffs of Paxton Creek should be protected where left vegetated and restored in those places where the vegetation has been removed. This is right from Warren Manning. Also, what's important, a quote out of the comp plan says that the visual connection between the riverfront and the bluffs was considered by Manning to be an irreplaceable element if destroyed. So this is, again, if we look at it in a holistic way, connecting these pieces together. So we begin to bridge this drop in elevation from the heights on the hill down to the river district. So where does that bring us? At the end of here, we're looking at there's an uncertain future. Really, the question continues to be asked, can Harrisburg and the region learn and adapt to a future for all? The Paxton Creek Master Plan that was prepared in March 2018 is listed here. You can go to the website. I have links for that. You can see where their focus was. Sadly, I don't think it was fully integrated well, or at least it's done in a central PA way. There's a lot of good study here, but the thing is, it's always in a very reserved methodology, meaning that it's not going to be doing out-of-the-box thinking. They're not concerned about long-term education. All this is about how do we solve an immediate connection or immediate focus on here. And also, sadly, how do you see this as an investment process for future properties? While that might not be said, the transit-oriented development area, the TOD at the Harrisburg Transportation Center, where the train station is, becomes a hotbedded item because it's at the end of Market Street and the transition into Cameron Street and up into the hill. So when this becomes a point of focus, so the question we should all have for this is, why are we putting more investment buildings into this area? Clearly, there's enough vacant lots around Harrisburg that this can be put elsewhere. I would argue that it should be moved along Market Street. Maybe this all goes up the hill instead of right here in a floodplain. So even if it's managed well, there's no guarantee that it won't flood and actually affect these properties that are built here, these businesses that are built here. So in Harrisburg's thinking, it's very transactional. I said this before, is that we're going to let's look at property. It becomes a transaction for investment, and the long-term investment is forgotten about, and it's all about the short-term gain. How do we put this out to whomever and reap the benefits that are there, rather than understanding long-term growth? The question I have, and every concerned citizen should have, is where should that long-term growth actually be invested? We look at the site plan for the central section of the Market Street District, the transit-oriented district. You can see what's here. So if you look at this, it's very reserved. It's central PA, stuff that you'd see in the suburbs of what these buildings would look like. It's the things that you've seen around Harrisburg built already. Not a lot of innovation, a lot of let's just build what's already there because we have a historic base of our buildings and we're not going to do anything that's totally drastic. Lastly, as we wrap this up, I'll be asking this probably in every single week as we go through this chapter. So what is our long-term legacy? If we look at it in terms of the City Beautiful movement, something that was started back in 1900, we have that legacy with us. Why wouldn't we continue to build on that and do it in a much better social way of social equity? We also look at social infrastructure and social capital. We could be doing this. This could be part of our education. This could be part of our workforce development. All these investments that we put in, all these willful acts into our environment matter. And if we don't get that, we are going to continue to repeat the same problem that we have here in Harrisburg, is not understanding the long-term legacy. Thanks again. This is another week of 52 Weeks. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Feel free to add some comments and feel free to continue the discussion amongst your neighbors. Thank you.